go ahead and speak.
Okay, good morning once again, and thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to clarify a little on the use of the tag table head. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is that your
Okay.
question?
Yes, yes. I just want to because the last class it was not used, and I was just trying to do a small checkup, and I saw the use of as in T head under
Okay.
the tag T head. I just want to know if there is
Yeah.
difference or there is yes, it's how best to use it.
As I
Thank you.
mentioned in the last class, T-Ed and TH, they do basically the same thing. They are just, it's just trying to write a short form of T-Ed. Instead of you writing T-Ed, you just write TH, which is the short form of T-Ed. T-Ed, based on the new release from HTML5, which we are currently using. If you write T-Ed, it's still going to work. But if you write TH, it's also going to work. So it's just interchangeable. You understand that, Imole?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so today we'll be going into CSS. And CSS is what makes your website beautiful. You would see that across all what we have been doing in the past few weeks, it's just HTML, it's just structure, and it's not beautiful. We can check out different kind of website, and what makes it actually beautiful is the CSS that is written. We can check out KodeCamp website, which is what we are going to be prototyping during the course of our CSS class. What makes it actually this beautiful is CSS. If I turn off the CSS in this on this website, we'll definitely see that there's nothing there. It's just a bunch of texts and just bunch of text and image generally. So in the course of this class, we'll be looking at CSS and everything about CSS. CSS is CSS, as I mentioned in our first class, is the beauty is for you to beautify your website. As I used an illustration of when a builder is building a house, you have your plan, which is done by the architect when they have molded the block, and the next thing they have to do, they have to plaster. Plastering is still part of the structure. But by the time they begin to add color, they begin to add POP, they begin to add things to the house to make it beautiful. They begin to add nice corner piece um, of pillars and every other thing. That's what makes your house beautiful. That's when you can see an house from above, and you be like, from afar rather, and you be like, wow, I like this house. The house is beautiful. You now go into the house, you see the chairs, you see the chandelier that is inside the house. Those are those are what CSS does to your website basically. You don't necessarily need to you don't necessarily need to go into something big. What CSS contains are the colors, the fonts, the spacing. You want to do animation on your website, CSS does everything all. CSS enables you to give beautiful colors. If you understand what I'm saying. Does anyone, as you're going, if you have any question, you know the rules of the class, drop it in the chat box or just raise up your hand and you speak. And you are going to be admitted to speak. So in CSS, there are 3 different ways of styling your CSS, which includes your inline styling, your internal styling, and the external styling. And in the course of the class, we'll be going across the 3 kind of styling. And for your CSS has an anatomy, which is if you can see the picture down here, you can see the selector, the declaration, the property value, the property and the value. That is how CSS works. CSS is divided into 3: the declaration, the property, the selector rather, the property and the value. Which, if without these 3 of them, there's nothing you're going to do on your website that is going to your styles can be effective unless you are using an inline styling. So let me show you how it is done. Yeah, Adelani, your question. When I researched between now and the last class, I saw that the metal tag for the for the image, for that fav icon has been obsolete already. It's no longer working. That is why it's now linked. That is why we now have to use the link. Most of what I checked over from the last class to this point is just you can now use the link, no longer the metal tag. The metal tag is now obsolete. It does not work again. Hope you get that, Adilani. Yeah. So let's so you can see that we have a normal HTML you can see we now have a normal HTML template which we have the fav icon. You can see I just kept it here. We have our fav icon and which is from the normal HTML. And there is something I talked about in the last class about quality folder structure. There is no how you want to write your code and you would give it to someone else and it's not going to be readable. The person is not going to be able to work on your code. That is why across from this moment on we'll be creating good folder structure. That means all our images are going to be inside an images folder. All our styles are going to be inside our index, our style folder, and all our other HTML pages are going to be inside our pages folder. So let me create that page. Let me create that folder. So our sign in goes into our pages folder. Our contact us goes into our pages folder. Our blog goes into our pages folder. Our about us goes into our pages folder. And the only file that will be exposed is our index.html because it is the entry part of our website. As I've mentioned in the last class and previous classes that HTML, index.html is the entry point of the website. You can either name it home.html, but it's just a regular convention across board that you name it index.html. You can name it whatsoever you like, but it's just a standard practice that you name it index.html. Are you all following? Can you respond in the chat box if you are following? All right, perfect. So let's have a normal HTML tag. Let's have a p tag. We have hello world. And this is inline styling. Let me do something here. Let me put something at the top here. So this is our inline styling. Hello world. We have text color. We have color. Red. Let's give it blue. And let's check it out. I have my live server running already so that we can see what we have on our website, which is this. You can see I have my color top that styled as blue. We can change the font size. Let me come back here and write font size 3 pixel. You can see it's going to be increased. You can see it has reduced. I mentioned that the default in the first slide. I mentioned that the default size for our image our paragraph is I think 4 pixel or so. I can't remember now, but you can't use anything called you can't use something that you can't use 3 pixel because it is very small. Your users can't basically see what is on the screen. So let's use something like 30 pixel. Let's check it out. You can see it's now bold. What can we also do to our styling? That's basically what styling is all about. I can change this. I can change the font style, text transformation. Oh, sorry, text transformation. Okay, what text transformation does is it changes everything from lowercase to uppercase, which is what we have here, which is anything you can think of about styling. Sometimes as a front-end developer, which you are, you won't necessarily have to begin to think of how will what am I going to do, because you are working hand in hand with a UI UX designer who is going to give you a prototype of what you are doing. So this is what you are going to be working on in this class, in our CSS class all through, is KodeCamp website, which is our design. Now we have UI UX has given us this design, which we are going to work with. So as we begin to build step by step, we would see that you will see how everything is going to fall in place with our CSS. Someone said, Cecilia, you can't hear me. Is any other person having that issue? Okay, Cecilia, you have to drop off the call and join back again. You have to drop off the call and join back again, Cecilia. So that's for Cecilia. So let's continue. Basically, this is inline styling. Anything you want to do, you just write it on. You just write it on a straight line. And one thing about this kind of inline, one disadvantage about this inline styling is that your lines of code just become so long and it's not going to be readable. I keep adding different kind of style to this particular element, and along the line it just gets to a point. I want to change something. I have to begin to check one after the other. If I've written 1,000 lines of code and I don't know where a particular element is, I have to start reading all through each line one after the other to check what I have done, which is not a good practice. Though you can see in some rare occasions, you would see whereby in some code base, a user would definitely style inline, but it's not a good practice. So most times, it's only when you are using some CSS framework, that's when you will see them doing inline styling. You won't necessarily have an external CSS file, because everything is all done in one file. So okay, let me don't clear this out. Let's now have our external styling. Let's have external styling. No, sorry, internal styling. Yes, OKG, it can be used, both any kind of styling can be used across. You can use either inline, internal, external. You can mix the three of them in your code, but for readability's sake, along the line as you go in your tech career, you would know it's not only you that will be working on the code base. Even if you are going to be the only one working on the code base, in the future, you will definitely hand it over to someone. Okay, can you help me make a fix on this? And if your code is not readable, it won't be someone else cannot work on the code. That's just it. So that's why it is just a standard practice across everyone that you make use of external styling, which you are still going to do. Yeah, John Paul. Let me call you John because you have another Paul in the class. Paul, can you unmute and speak? Your hand is raised.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. I will just take you back a little, sir. You were mentioning my name. I had my name before my network went off.
Yeah,
And
it
secondly,
was when I
okay,
introduced into the as the assistant class rep.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And
All right.
secondly, you mentioned something like henceforth we are going to be putting our style in a folder, stuff like that. I didn't get it well, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay, that's fine. I said that it is good standard practice that you have a very good folder structure. What is a good folder structure? A good folder structure is that everything concerning a particular file are all grouped together. If you can see on my right hand side, you see I have an images folder, I have a pages folder, and I have a style folder. Inside my images folder, everything, all the old images we'll be using right in this project that we are working on is going to go into the images folder. Every other page, we can see that CodeCamp website, which is our prototype website here, has about us page, contact us page, explore, how it works. That is where that's all our different pages, which is going to go into the pages folder, and everything about style, every style we are going to be making in our project for the different pages is going to go into the style folder. Do you get that now, John Paul? And I said that it is a standard practice that the only file that is going to be exposed that you don't necessarily have to put inside the folder is your index.html file, because it's the entry point of your website. Did you get that, Paul? Paul, you can just drop a message in your chat box if you get that. Paul, can you hear me? Okay, all right, that's
Yes,
fine.
sir. I can hear you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, that's fine. So for the extra, let's have another element here. Let's have an H1 tag. An H1, we have um, CodeCamp 4.0. And we have a span element here, front end. So for our inline internal styling, we do it like this. You have something called your style. You have your style and you have your declaration inside. We have our H1, text color. You can either use color or text color. It goes the same way. Let's make it red. Let's make it chocolate. Can someone tell me the way I've styled this H1? You can see that our H1 and the H1 is the element wrapping the span. The color of chocolate I placed on the H1, is it going to affect the span element? Um, is it going to affect the span element? No. Okay. Someone is saying it's going to affect the span element. Some people are saying no, it's not going to affect the span. Samuel, can you unmute and speak and tell me why it's going to affect the span element? Or Olatubosun, either of you, can you tell me why it's going to affect the span element?
Okay, sir. It's going to affect the span element. It's going to affect because the span is wrapped inside each one.
Okay. Well, that's
Because as we know, the span is not a semantic tag. So let's assume let's assume the H1 was wrapped inside the span. Only the H1 will have that effect. But due to the fact that the H1 was wrapped inside the span, due to the fact that the span is wrapped inside the H1, so it will affect it.
okay. All right. Someone hand is raised. Tobechuku, can you unmute and speak? Tobechuku, can you unmute and speak? Oh, Tobechuku has dropped off. Genevieve, can you unmute and speak?
Okay, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
It will affect the because H1 is being mentioned. The H1 is general. So as is mentioned to affect it.
Okay, all right. Let's see the results, and I'll tell you why it affects it and why it's not going to affect it. So let's check it out. Let's see our final result. Before we show it, no, it won't affect it. Let's check it out. It's definitely going to affect it. The reason why it's affecting it is because someone has mentioned it. The H1 is the parent element. So if I now want to style, yeah, the H1 is the parent element. If I now want to style the span element itself, I can now do this. I'll just do span, and I'll do color green. Can see that is how it's done. If you are using an element, if you give the parent container, if you give the parent element a color, it's definitely going to affect everything. So let's check out, let's do this. Let's do body. Let's do body, background color. Background color, let's give it aquamarine, and let's give it a text color of red. A color of red. And let's remove this span element. It is H1 span. You would see that the body element is the parent container of everything inside. So whatsoever color I give to the body element is going to affect the text inside it. So this is it. Why? Okay, you can see now that the H1 element has the color red. Why the the P tag, which is there, because I gave it a color of blue, it's not going to there's the color blue here has overwritten the color red that's given at the top level. That's why CSS has order of priority. If you declare an element inside your external styling or at a top level, and you are restyling that element at where the element is located, where the element is located is going, the styling you give to the element where it's actually located is going to affect, override what is written at the top level. Do you guys understand what I just said? Do you guys understand what I just said? If the way we have written, the way we wrote, okay, some people are confused. Now, I gave a general styling to my body, which is the background color is aquamarine, and the text color, the color I'm giving to everything is red. So let me comment out this. Let me comment out the P tag. You will, once we come here, we'll see that regardless of any the color that our H1 element is taking is color red, which is what we want which is the color we are giving to all our element, which is the color we are giving to all our text elements. But we now come here, we now say, okay, oh, yeah, we don't want our colors. We want some of our colors to be red. We want some of our colors to be white or blue. That's when we now give our P tag a color of blue. We have overwritten what the text color we give to all our text elements. We have overwritten for the P tag. It is now just color blue, we are rewriting, we are giving our p tag a blue color that, okay, yes, whenever a p tag comes up, we are giving it color blue. That is what we have right here. That's what we have basically done here. If we write another element, let's write another element. Let's write an H2 element. Let's write what can we write? Let me write John Paul. You can see John Paul is also red. But if I give John Paul a different color, it's going to overwrite the red color that has been given to it from the top level. Do you understand that now? Pascal, Caleb, okay, Samson, your hand is raised.
Yes, I just want to ask, does that mean that inline styling overrides internal styling in case of what you just cited again?
Yes, inline styling overrides what you have written at any place before because it's directly written on that element. That is it. If you have an external styling for an element somewhere and you come to your front and you come to where your tag is inside you and you give it another styling, what you have there is going to override what you have given at the top level. You understand that now, Samson?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Hilary, can you go ahead?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Sir, the browser over here, I don't know that is my side, is showing two colors, two different shades of green. But on the code, you only affected the background ones, which is on the internal with the body, internal CSS. You just put aquamarine, but on the browser, it's showing two colors.
Two colors, okay. When I say for the body element, a body element, okay, let me show you something. For the body, let me do an height. The reason for that is it's taking up, as I've said earlier, it's going to take up the width, the height of the content inside. This other blue color that is down here is from my Windows system. It's from my system rather, because the body element is just taking up the total content of what is inside here. You get that, Hilary?
Okay, yes, sir, I get. Okay, that means the other color is from your system. That's a default color from your system.
Yeah, it's from my own system. No.
Okay, sir. It was the code.
But there's a way you can actually change the height to make it full. That's what I'm trying to do with the height of 100 VH. Height of 100 VH means that it's going to take up the full view height. Please, sir, which of the styling are you using? I'm currently using for now. I'm talking about internal and inline styling, but eventually, what I'm going to be using, or by the time we start working on our prototype, is this thing. Is external styling. Do you get that? I will ask that question, Pascal. Yeah. It's external styling we are going to be using all through, but I'm just making mention of both the different kind of styling we have because you will definitely see it in some code base. Yeah, Chinelo, can you unmute and speak?
All right, sir. I want to know the difference between that VH, the percentage, and other measurements used for height.
Okay, yeah, there are different measurements in CSS, and it's not some. I have to explain everything extensively. There is percentage, there is pixel, there is rem, there is I think there are up to 7 thereabout. I think in our next class, in the next class I'm going to make mention of that, because they are all different and they have different specifics. All our browser are pixel. Our browser are in pixel. When you see a browser, if you check your browser, when I say everything is 16 pixel, yeah, our browser are in pixel, which is 16 pixel. But as a developer, you can always rewrite the pixel of your. You can always what will I say? How will I put it? You can always format your font size. You can always reformat the font size of your user system through your own code. And there are some measurements which are relative and some are absolute. That means some measurements such as pixel are rigid, while percentage is flexible. By the next class, we'll see the difference between both of them. Chinelo, let's don't jump the gun here. Let's just start from the basics so that everyone can flow along. Because if I bring in the pixel, if I begin to explain the pixel measurement, everyone is going to be confused. So let's just take it step by step. Chinelo, you get that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we have this already. So there's something, if you want to declare a font in your CSS, a font declaration is always done in CSS, and the font you majorly use, they are inbuilt fonts inside your code, but you can also get font from Google Fonts, Google Fonts. Let's go to Google Fonts and just pick any font we want. I'm not checking the icon. There are different kind of fonts. We have Roboto, and Roboto is mostly using across board. So what you are going to do here is you select the different type of font you want. You select the font you want, and you just come here, you do get font, and you can see something now. You can see either you embed it or you download it. The best way for you to use it is for you to embed it inside your code. So you don't need to begin to worry about probably it's going to change later on in the future. If it changes later on in the future, if you are using an embedded link, it's still going to be the same. But if you download it onto your project and it changes in the future, the changes that have been made, you won't be able to get it into your project. That means you have to re-download the font family you are using into your code over and over again. So that is why you can use, for stuff like font, it is easier for you to use. It's much preferable for you to just import the link, which is you can either copy the link. If you are copying the link here, that means you are embedding it into your HTML. But if you come here and you do import, you just copy the @import and place it at the top level of your CSS. I hope everyone is following. Hope I didn't confuse anyone about the font family here. Can you all
come over again?
Who was that? Okay, Gabriel. I said that
Gabriel, yes.
I said that when you are building your website, the default font size of all browser is sans serif. The default font size of every browser is sans serif. So, but your UI UX designer can tell you that, okay, I don't want to make use of sans serif. I want to make use of a different font entirely. And every kind of font your UI UX designer is going to eventually use, you can see that font on Google Fonts. So what you just have to do is you head over to font.google.com and you search for the font you want. Let's come back here. You can see we have Roboto. We have any kind of font you want. I think there's also Time New Roman. Let me check. Okay, there's no Time New Roman. There's different kind of font. Any kind of font you can think of. There's Open Sans, there's Noto. Any kind of font you want. Just come here, just select it. and you can see that, okay, these are the type of fonts, these are the sizes. It has 100 to I think 900 or so. Yeah, it has up to 900. If you want to get the font, just click on get font. You can either download it. If you download it, you have to embed the downloaded font into your code, which is not a good practice. Because along the line, what if Google decide to make an update to the font? You have to go back all over again to download the font into your code base. But if you just do something, if you just come here and do and just copy the code, you can see now they have given you two options. You can either copy this code just like this, you just copy it this way, and you embed it into the head of your HTML at this part. At this part, you just embed it right here. Once you copy it here, your font is already active. In the font you want to use is right active here. So let's check it out. You can see that once we check our code, you see that the font is different. If you notice, the font is basically different from what we have before. Gabriel, do you understand? Gabriel.
Yes.
All right. Mara is asking a question. If you use an embedded one, can it work without network? No, an embedded one can't work without network. You need a network to make the embedded one work. That is it. But you necessarily don't have to worry about it. So far, it's there. Once your user goes online, because you're eventually going to host your website on a server, and your user, if your user is connected to the internet to access your website, they are connected to the internet, so it's definitely going to work either ways. Mara, do you understand? You can always embed your font size, your font family into the code, and thereafter you import. You just push it to your web server, and once your user access the website, they would have access to the font size they are using. I will show you by the time we go to the external part, external CSS. I will show you how the import works. So now let's have on the body element here. Let's do something called font family. Font family. We have, which font family are we using here? Mozarat. You do it like this. Mozarat. This is it. The font family you installed or that you embedded into your code is Montserrat, while the default font size of every browser is sans serif. So if Montserrat is not available, definitely sans serif is going to be available. That is what this thing means. That, okay, the font size I'm using for my browser is Montserrat. But if Montserrat is not available, sans serif should definitely be the fallback option, fallback font, which my code is going to use. Do you understand what I said? Sir, can we make use of more than one font at a time? Yes, you can even use 10 fonts at a particular time. Yeah, if you go to some website, you will notice that their H1 element has a different kind of font. Their P tag has a different kind of font, and we are definitely going to do that as we go on. We are going to do that in this our code. So let's check what we have now. You can see that our font has changed. What we were using before was sans serif, but now that we have Mozarat, who can spot the difference between both font size? Who can spot the difference? Femi, I'm going to definitely, by the time we get to the external part, I'm going to show you how the import works. Don't worry, we are going to make use of the import. The import is done in external CSS. Yeah, Ezekiel, go ahead and speak.
Okay.
Ezekiel, I didn't hear what you said.
This. Hello, sir. Please can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So please, the difference is that there's a little bit of both like spaces between them, and especially the four of them kind of together, but this one is being split. Like,
Yeah, okay. Zakaria, what's your sorry, Zakaria. Sorry, before you speak, Zakaria, were you in CodeCamp 1.0 or 2.0?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for the knowledge, sir. The major difference I observe is the edges of the letterings. It seems that of the previous one had curvy edges, while this one has more straight edges.
Yeah, so every font size has their uniqueness. That is why you use it over and over again. So that's why if you go to different websites, you will see. Let me check. Let's check the font family which CodeCamp is using. Let's check it. You have to get used to your Google Developer Tools because that is how you are going to style your. That's how you are going to be debugging if your codes are not working. So let's check it. Let's check the computed style. Let's check the font family. The font you can see CodeCamp is actually using Mozart, which is this. Can you see my screen? Can you see the Mozart which font CodeCamp is using? CodeCamp is using Mozart and sans serif. So we are actually on course for the same font which CodeCamp is using. Yeah, so um, that's it. So let's continue. Zachariah, do you still have a question? Okay, Samson, you have a question. Go ahead and speak. Unmute and speak, Samson.
Yeah, sorry, sir. I think Isaac is asking the same question. Please, sir, how did you get to debug those codes for the page? Please, sir.
You just right click. You just right click. Did you get that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Just right click and you inspect. Once you right click and inspect, you have your code or you have your Google Developer Console already. Yeah. So let's proceed. So I think we are all familiar now with both inline styling and external styling and internal styling. Are we all familiar with it? Can I get your response? Are we all familiar with it? All right. So what we'll be using from now on till the end of CodeCamp is going to be external styling. So how do you do your external styling? You have a folder called your style, and you have an extension. You have something called style.css. You don't necessarily have to call it style.css. I can call it index.css. It doesn't matter. I call it index.css. It's still CSS because, as we all know earlier, I said in the first class that it's the extension behind the file name. That is what your browser is going to interpret. Do we all get that? That's what the browser is going to interpret. So index.css, home.css, style.css, CSS rather, I'm saying CSS. CSS is what, once you add the CSS extension to it, it knows that okay, this is your this is what you want. Is a CSS is a styling file. So how do you link your index your
Sir,
yeah? Who is that?
this is Gabriel.
Gabriel. Okay.
Sorry for bringing you back. For the folder,
Yeah.
is it that you created index.css under the style? Is the style itself on this folder? Is it the folder itself? How did you create that style.css? Did you click on the style and you now created this style.css? That
Okay, wait.
access part, yes.
Let's start it all over. Let me create the file all over again. Let me delete it. So we have our folder, which is our project folder, which is the index HTML class, which is our folder structure. Then we create another folder, and we call it styles. Then right inside our styles, you have to click on that folder, which is styles, and you click on file, and you have index.
Okay, you click on style.
Yes, you
Okay, you
have to
click
click
on
on
style
style.
first before you click on
Yeah,
style.
yes. So you have your index.css. So are we good at this point? Are we all following? Is anyone confused? Is anyone confused? No confusion, right? Okay. So let's now link our style sheet. Okay, Afolabi, go ahead and speak.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you. I was going to ask about the styling. The style folder that you created, is it a must that you create a folder before you now put a file inside the folder for the style? Or you can just create the file directly, just like the way you have your HTML
Yeah,
index.html.
yes. It doesn't
That's the
really matter.
normal way.
Wait, I made mention earlier that in CodeCamp, we teach industry standard approach. And it is just standard practice that you have all your files inside the folder detecting what they do. If you can see now, every images we'll be using in this project, it's already inside an images folder. All our pages, every other pages will be building, which is the about us page, the blog page, the contact us page, and the sign in page. We have it already on inside the pages folder. And for our style, every style we'll be doing for our different pages, we have it directly inside our style folder.
Oh,
And the only page that is going to be exposed outside, which is the entry point on our website, is the index.html. It's just for readability sake. You can actually put your style outside. You can just have it like this. You can just have style.css or CSS. It doesn't matter. But for readability sake, so that okay, we know that this folder is the one holding all our styles. That's why we have a folder for our style. So every of our style goes into this place. Do you understand that, Folabi?
okay, thank you, sir. And again, I was going to ask about sorry, I'll be taking you to HTML. I think indentation, I want to know, the aligning our codes, right?
Yeah.
Like we didn't really talk about that, but then I think it's something that we need to know because sometimes when I write code, it's always looking scattered and the rest. And I guess I'm not getting the indentation properly. I don't know if
Okay.
it's something that you
You
can
need
just
you need
cross
an
it.
extension called Prettier. For your indentation
Oh,
of code, it's just for readability sake. You go to your VS Code extension and download an extension called Prettier.
okay.
You download an extension called Prettier. Your Prettier is going to be whenever Prettier is just going to be formatting your code. That is what Prettier does. Do you get now, Afolabi?
Right. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, Chinelo, go ahead and speak.
All right, sir. I really do not understand. I want to know if this index.html is inside style folder or is it just a separate folder on its own? Secondly, I don't really know, but all these pages I thought is an HTML page and it should be in index dot. I don't really. I'm kind of confused between these pages not being inside the index.html and HTML being separate folder or maybe it's inside. I'm seeing like as if it's inside the style.
Okay, this is it. Look at the folder structure properly. Look at the folder structure properly. The folder structure has an image, which are the files inside the image. The index.html is not inside the style folder. It's a standalone file on its own. You can see while we have is a standalone file on its own. So you can see the style parts. You have class the HTML class slash styles slash index.css. But for your HTML file, you just have HTML class slash index.html. Your index.html is a standalone file. It is not inside any folder. Do you get now, Chinelo?
Oh, okay, yes. I thought it was a folder because I wasn't seeing any arrow. I didn't know
No,
it was just file.
it's a file on its own, so it's not a folder. It's directly inside your project folder.
Okay, and I have a second question, which is the page. My question was, I thought this our contact and home address supposed to be inside this HTML, something
Okay.
of.
Yeah, I said that. Okay. I made mention that the entry page of your website is the index.html. You can have all these other pages outside. You can have it outside you might not have it inside a folder, but you have it outside your file. But it's just standard practice that, okay, when you give someone your code base and they be like, okay, I want to work on this code with you, they know where to go to for everything they want. Okay, once they see pages, they know that, okay, every other page on this website is inside the pages folder, and for your style, everything for your style are inside the style folder, and everything about the images are inside the images folder. So the only file that is exposed is your index.html. So once they see the folder structure, then okay, I am going to the contact us page. They just open the pages folder and they go to the contact us. That is it. Do you guys now, Chinelo?
Hello, sir.
It's just for readability. I understand.
Yeah. Gabriel, I won't allow you speak because you know the rules of the class. You raise up your hand before you speak. You don't unmute to speak. Jane, can you go ahead and speak?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, please, I want to draw you back a little bit. I'm still confused on this CSS styling, the external styling. Like, please, can you just explain it once more, please?
Yeah, I've not gone into external styling. I just made mention of internal and inline styling. So I was just trying to go into external styling so I can answer questions before I go into it. Don't worry,
Okay, so can you explain the inline and the internal styling just a little bit more?
All right,
Thank
I'll
you.
do that. Yeah. So Zachariah, what's your question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can you?
Please, what I really want to ask is, what are the other extensions we need to install on our VS Code aside from the Prettier and Live server?
Well, as you go on, I would send a list. I have a couple of extensions I have. It's just based on personal preference. It's not as if you need them to write your code. It's just to make life easier.
Okay,
So I would check my extensions, the extension I've downloaded, and I would just compile it and send it to you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, Gabriel, you can speak now.
Sir, thank you, sir. For this folder part, what you just explained earlier now,
I can't hear
does
you. I can't hear you,
it
Gabriel.
mean that this page folder and image folder
I can't hear you. I can't hear you,
are
Gabriel.
they
Your
the
network is
same
breaking.
thing?
The network
That is the
is
first
breaking.
question. Okay, sir. What I'm saying is, for the folder part you created, the one for the can you hear me now, sir?
I think you drop it in the chat box. You just speak for some seconds and you go off again. I think if you just drop
Can
it
you
in
hear
the
me
chat
now?
box. Yeah, I can hear you clearly now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can
Okay,
hear you
sir.
clearly.
For the folder part, Yeah, for the folder part, are you saying that the image folder and the pages are they the same thing the way you created them here? That's the first question.
Are they
There's the
what?
second question is, are they the same? Are they doing the same work there? The images and the pages.
Oh, I don't seem to understand your question, Gabriel. But if it's
Yes,
based
for this
on
left part.
for this left part, the thing is, what I'm saying
Yes,
is,
this page.
the folder structure is just a folder. This is what is called folder structure when you are writing code. That you have all your images inside a folder on its own. You have all your styles. Every style you are going to be writing in your code, you have it in a separate folder on its own. And every other pages on your website, such as the about us, the contact us, the get to know us, every other page, if you have like 10 other pages on your screen, this CodeCamp website, which will be prototyping, has an home page, it has an about us page, it has a contact us page, it has an explore page, it has an how to work, how it works page. So now, when you come here, you just look at, okay, you know the home page is the index.html, which is what we have here. Then for the pages, those other pages, you have the about us page, you have the contact us page, you have the explore.html page, explore.html, you have it there. So that every other pages that your user may have access to on your website, you have everything declared in your pages folder. So the only page you have exposed is your index.html, because it's the entry part of your website. Did you get that now, Gabriel?
Okay.
Are you still
Yes, sir.
confused?
I'm okay now. I have a second question again.
All right.
For that index.html, can you go to the page?
Yeah.
The entry point. The styling part. Styling part, we are having relative, blah, blah, first font, second font. How did you go about that? Sorry for bringing you back.
No, you're not bringing me back. This is the font from Google that we are using. When we went to Google Font to get font the other time, which is here, you can see we have two options. You can see even Google has told you here, embed this code in the head of your HTML folder. So you don't need to worry yourself about what it does. It's for your...
Where is it written? Embed it
This
to
is
the
it.
head. Is it written anywhere?
Yeah, it is here. Look at it. What I just highlighted now. Embed code in the head of your HTML.
Okay.
So once you do that, you just embed it into your code, and you come to, once you have embedded it and you now declare your font family, it is telling your code that, okay, this code, what's the name? This font family I'm using it from Google, and I don't have it directly on my system. I am connecting online. If I am not online, if I go offline now and I want to make use of this font family, I won't be able to make use of it, because I don't have it inside my code base. The reason why I don't want to download this font family into my code base is because, one, the file is heavy. If you are going to host it on a server, you have to push that file with it. And if later on in the future, maybe 10 years time, Google make an update to this Mozart font, you won't have it on your website, because you downloaded the font and placed it into your code. But if you are using this link, this is called CDN, Content Delivery Network. If you are using this CDN to pass it into your code, if Google keep making an update every day, you don't need to worry that, okay, I have to go back to my code to go and start changing it. Definitely the the changes automatically appears on your browser because it is linked directly to Google's page, Google's font family page. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sir, please, what is this? What is the pre-connection? It is basically from Google. So it's telling, okay, someone has responded. It's basically telling the HTML that is the origin point. Yeah. Thank you, Olatoye. Francisca, can you unmute and speak? Francisca. Francisca. Oh, Francisca is not beside her phone. Okay.
Sir, I'm here.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Concerning that font family you said we took from Google, I thought using external CSS where you can give it a universal font family, do you still have to use the Google embedded code? Like, is it a must to use that Google embedded code for this place that you put it?
Okay, if you are using an external styling, you would see, can you unmute? Can you mute your mic? Okay. If you want to use it in your style sheet, in your external style sheet, you would see that you have something called import. You will see you have something here called import. You just copy this import and place it at the top level of your CSS, of your external CSS, which you just do this. Let's do it. You come to your style.css here, index.css, and you copy and you just paste it here. Once you paste it here, it is automatically connected to your code. It's automatically importing the font family from where you have it. Do you understand, Francisca?
Sir, is it necessary? Like, must you do that? Is it like the standard practice?
If you don't put it in your HTML, you have to put it in your CSS. I can't hear.
Sir, can you hear me? Sir?
Yeah, Francisca, can you hear me? I can hear you if you are speaking.
Okay. Just use font family and then put the type of font family, like using the element font family. Must you use this link? Like,
the thing there is that you have to get the font. This is an external font you are using. This is an external font you are using. If you check now, check what we did here. Check what we have here, Francisca. You can see we have font family, Mozarat, and sans serif. Now, at this point, you are just importing the font into your code. You are not yet using it. If I clear this part out, if I clear this font family out now, let's check what we have on our browser. You would see that you can see it has changed. You can see it has changed. But the moment we had this font family to it, you would see the difference. You can see it changes. If we don't import the font family from Google to it, it's not going to work. Even if you had your font family Montserrat, but you don't import it into your code, it's not going to work. Do you get now, Francisca? You have to always...
It will not work with online.
Yeah?
You mean it won't work if it's online?
It won't work if it's online, but wait. Now,
okay, so
what you have is that. Explain yourself. Explain your question properly, Francisca.
Some codes. I don't import anything online, I just declare my font family on CSS, external CSS, and it will show me that in my live server when I open it. So that's why I'm asking if it's very necessary to use that link.
Okay.
I don't know if you get it now.
I get you now. The thing is, if you check, you will see that when you are writing your code, there are some defaults, there are some, I like call it, there are some fonts that are already imported into your CSS already. There are some fonts that are already widely available. There are fonts that are widely available, such as sans serif. Sans serif is widely available. So you don't need to import sans serif into your code before you make use of sans serif. For Mozart now, Mozart is a different font family. You have to import it into your code before you can make use of it. Do you get now? Maybe the font family you are using is already is a universal font family that is always available on every system. That's going to be the case.
Yeah, that's the case, sir.
So you want to make use of a different font family which is not widely available on every system, you have to import it into your code. You understand now, Francisca?
Yes, sir, clearly. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Yeah, so let's continue. So we have someone said I should re-explain the inline and internal inline styling again. For the inline styling, you are placing it directly on the element you are working on, which is directly on the element. You are not declaring it somewhere else, or you are not pointing to it. This is it. The moment you write your opening tag, you just before the first closing tag, you just write your style into it, and you're giving it the styling you want. And for the inline style, for the internal, that's inline styling. For the internal styling, you have to declare the style at the top inside the head of your HTML page. Once you declare it inside the head of your HTML page, you have it there already. So that's where you keep declaring all your styles. So let's declare our H1 tag, H1. Let's give it the color of chocolate. Let's give it the color of chocolate. Which other tag do we have here? We have an H2 tag. Let's give it the color of this, and let's change the font style. Let's change it to italic. Let's change the font weight. Let's change the font weight to bold. You can see all the options we have here. You can see from our Mozart, we have 1 to 900. We can make use of any one of them. Let's give it a font weight of 800, and let's check it out. You can see that what we gave, the style we gave it in our header, in the head.html, in the head, is actually reflecting. So the head.html, the style you give it internally can work the same way. I don't know who asked that question the other time. Who was the person that asked that question?
It's me, sir, Jane.
Okay, do you understand it now, Jane?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, Sirat, please can you unmute and speak?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah,
I noticed that you already linked this font family in the HTML, and I noticed that in your index.css too, you are trying to link it there too. So are we going to link both in the HTML and in the CSS?
No, and okay, the thing here is you can actually link it in. You can link it in your index of CSS and not link it in your index of HTML. If you are doing if you are doing all your CSS internally, the way we have it here now, that you are not declaring your external CSS, you have to declare your you have to declare it at the top left in the head of your HTML. But if you are using an external CSS, you just need to import it at this part, just need to import it at the top level and you don't need it here. By the time we go into the external CSS, I'm going to remove all this that we have here and it's still going to work the same way. Do you understand now, Yesirat?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, please, sir, throw more light on how you downloaded the Google font. Please, I'm trying it and it's not working. Okay. This is it. Who is asking that question? Let me check. Steven, you go to googlefont.com, which is here. You go to Google Fonts, you just select the font, you select any font that you want. You just select any font that you want. I want this Reddit mono. Once you click on the Reddit mono and you come here, you will see on the right hand side of your screen, you will see get font. And you can either choose embed get embedded code or download. Once you click on download, you are going to download, it's going to download as a zip file. Then you are going to extract it and put it into your code. You get it now. Do you get it now, Steven? And you will see at this point, you can see how to use. If you read on the how to use part of it, you will get how to embed it into your code. But I also said that it is not a good practice for you to use to download the file into your code, because if there are changes made on the website on this particular font that you are downloading, if there is a changes made, you won't see the changes on your inside your on your website, because the code the font you are particularly using, you have it embedded into your code already. Do you get that? Steven, do you get it now? Steven, do you get it? Okay, let's go ahead. Someone was talking about us using multiple fonts the other time. So you can see now we have 3 different fonts. We have Mozarat, Reddit, and Roboto. It's still the same way. It doesn't matter. You just copy it this way and you embed it. In either way you do it, you can either copy the link here or you import it. So before we go into the external CSS, does anyone have any question? Does anyone have any question? Okay, Steven, you have a question. Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, my network kicked me out, so I didn't get what you explained. I initially asked you a question about this, how you embedded this
Okay.
access, yeah.
Yeah, I said that you asked a question about the downloading of the font. Downloading of the font is not working. I said that you have to go to the Google Fonts. Once you get to Google Font and you select the font you want, you would see an option right at the top level, which is, let's come here. Once I select this Roboto now, you will see, if once you come here, you will see get font. Okay, I have it. Let me remove the font family. You can see get font. Once you click on get font, it brings you to this page. You can either download it. If you download it, it's going to be a zip file. But if you click on embed this code, it's going to give you an embedded link such as this, which you are just going to copy and paste into the, if it's this one that has link, these 3 links, you have to copy it and paste it into your HTML file. But if it's the import that you want to do, you just copy this import at import and paste it into your CSS file, that is how you're going to do it. Do you understand that now, Steven? And I said that it is not a good practice for you to download the font family into your code, that if there are any changes made in the nearest future on that font, you would not have that changes because you have that font downloaded already. But if you are using it as a CDN, which is content delivery network, if you are using it as a CDN, you would, every changes that is made over and over again, you don't need to be worried that, okay, I have to go and download this font family into my folder again. It's going to work the way it is. Do you understand now, Steven? Steven, do you understand?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, all right. Hilary, can you unmute and speak?
Sir, I have something to clarify. Though my network was disturbed, so I went off and came back. The difference between this link and this import is it that is one is on CSS and one is on HTML.
Yes, that is it. For the link, for these links,
Okay,
you have
but
to
you are
copy it and paste it inside your head.html. But for this import, you don't need those, you just copy this at import and paste it into your CSS and you're good.
okay, but what is written on top is embed code in head of the HTML, still the same with the link.
Yeah, the reason is because this is it. If you copy this style now, if you see the head of my HTML, when I'm doing an internal styling here, I have an internal styling here. I just have to copy this art. I'm copying this art like this and I'm pasting it into in this part because I have it here. If you are doing internal styling, that is when you have to do this. But I am no longer doing internal styling. You are going to be doing an external styling, and you don't need this style bracket any longer. If you see here, you will see at this part, you will see style, your opening style and your closing style. You don't need that any longer if you are writing it in your external CSS, because once you link, this is how you once you link your style sheet to your index.html, it tells your browser that okay, this is the style sheet and I want to use it in this page. Do you understand now, Hilary?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand. I understand. And
Yeah, all right.
also, sir,
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I actually
Hilary.
I had on that question. I actually forgot the question just now. Now it
All
flew
right.
from my
When
head.
you know it, just drop it
Okay,
in the chat.
yeah. Remember, is so prior to this time, I thought it was style.css, but yours is index.css.
Yeah, I said that the the either style.css, index.css, goto.css, whatsoever you write in front of it does not matter. It is the extension behind it that matters. Now I can come here now and I write what should I write? I write style style.csx. It's just the extension behind it that matters, not the name of what you are doing, of the name of the file you gave it. It doesn't matter. It's the extension behind it. This one that I write style.css, this is a TypeScript file that I'm writing here. So it doesn't matter. It's just your extension behind it that matters. Do you understand now, Hilary?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, you said CSX.
No, I'm just using this one as an example. Don't write CXS. So
Okay,
this,
sir.
I'm just informing you that um this is the extension behind it that matters. You can see I wrote style.csx. Is the extension that matters, not the name you are giving to the file itself.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, Gabriel, the section is recorded and is live on YouTube. So let's delete this one so I don't confuse people. Yeah. Is anyone still confused before we go into the external CSS? Well, is anyone still confused? Yeah, so let's go into the external CSS. We are going to, so we don't have duplication of fonts. We just go into this part. We go into the external CSS like this. So let's clear this up. So how do you link your external CSS to your CSS folder? This is what you do. Link, you have a rel. The rel stands for, you put a style sheet, then you close it, and you have Then you have your, you don't necessarily need to have the type, but for just standard practice, you can see it in other code base. You have text slash CSS, and the next thing you have is your href. Then you have your, the normal way we do it, dot slash styles slash index.css. So this is how you link your HTML, your CSS to your HTML. So let's have our hello world here. Let's have our H1 with hello world. Once we check it now, you will see that we have our hello world here. And who can see something in our browser here? You can see that there are some default margin. There are some default margin around our code here. Who can see it? Can anyone notice that there's a default margin around our code here? So for every browser, there is a default margin and padding on every browser. So as a developer, there's something we call, no, it's not because it's the header. It's not because it's the header, Adelani. For every browser, there is a default margin and padding. So as a developer, before you start writing your code, there's something called global reset. There's something called global reset. And in CSS, we have a global reset called a global reset indicator, which is the asterisk sign. If we come to our index.css, after we must have imported our style, and you do something like this, asterisk margin 0 padding 0. If we check our browser, you would see that all the styles and all the default font margin and padding that we have there has gone away. Who noticed it? Who noticed that all the old default margin and padding we have there has gone away? So as a developer, the first thing you have to do to your styling is to reset it, to do something called a global reset. That's what we call a global reset. And a global reset, you can also put your font family and the likes, but we just do 3 things in our global reset. It is the margin, the padding, and we set something called box sizing. We set something called box sizing, and we call it border box. Every website, the default size for every web browser is border box. You can, if you are building a blog, you can actually use a content box, but the default one that everyone uses across board is the border box. Do you understand what I just did here? Does anyone have any question with what I just said, or you are confused with what I just did? Do you have any question? Okay, John Paul, you have a question. Unmute and
Okay,
speak.
sir.
All right,
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. I just want to know the difference between box sizing and cover. The other one you say the default browsing editing is border box. Then the other different one, I just want to know the difference, sir.
It's okay. Content is, it gives you a box for each content. That is just it's just like, it's something that your browser does. It's not really visible to you to see, actually. It's just, okay, it knows on back of the thing that, okay, this is a border box. You know how a border box is going to be. It's going to be a big box with borders, something like that. It's not really visible for you to see, but it happens. I can't give a definite explanation about it because it's not something you will see visibly on your screen. It just happened behind the scene. Paul, do you understand? Okay. Someone is asking a question. What is the difference between body? What is the best to use between body margin 0 padding 0? The best is asterisk because it's a global reset. For your body now, For your body, if I want to set the body on my body now, I can set some things like body, background color. I can set so many things on my body. I can change my font size and everything on my body element. But for me to be able to do a global reset, I just have to do it on using the aesthetic, which is the global reset. That is the standard practice everywhere. So do you get that now? Who asked that question? Oluwaseun. That is the standard practice anyway. You can do it as your body, but sometimes you might want to give your body some different kind of elements, which you don't want to be a global styling. So you just use for now I can give my body elements. I can give my body element, body. I said body, background color, red. Let me give my background color red. Background origin, background color red. And if we come here, you will see that our background color is red. Though I can still do the same on my global reset here. I do something called background color green. Golden rod. Let me use golden rod because KodeCamp 3.0. So this was the color we were using, golden rod. So you can see now, when you give something at the global level, it overwrites your body. It overwrites what you have in the body. So it's not a good practice for you to always do things like this. Things that are still going to change in your code, you don't necessarily have to put it at the top level there. So do you get now? What's the name? Oluwaseun. Yeah, someone who is raising up their hand. Gabriel, go ahead and speak.
I want to ask, in the index.cxx, you say what you are going to start with is a global reset.
Yes.
I'm not seeing something like a font family that you are having on top of it before the global reset.
Okay. This font family, you're just importing it. It doesn't have anything to do with your. You're just importing this here. This import, you're just doing it at the top level of your code. You can do it at the bottom, but it's just advisable you do it at the top because your code is red. The way your code is this. That. Sorry, who was that?
What are we using it to target?
We are actually using it to target. We are actually, for this font, this is the font we are going to be using. Do you get, Gabriel? This font, we are importing this font from Google. The same thing we did in our index.html, that we added the font to the top level inside our head. It's the same thing we are doing in our CSS. The font family we are going to use throughout our code. We have to put it at the top level. We can import it in our CSS here, in our index.html. But for anything that concerns our style, it is advisable and it is of good practice that we put everything inside our index.css. Do you get, Gabriel? Do you understand? Gabriel, do you understand? Hilary, can you go ahead and speak?
Okay, sir. Sir, I noticed that the background change in CSS affected the whole screen, not only the section of the body.
Yeah, because what you did was a global reset. What you did was a global reset. You can see now. That's why I said that.
Before the global reset, sir, you first of all did it. You did it on the body attribute.
Yeah, I did it on the body attributes. Yes.
affected it also. I guess I saw that.
Yeah, it affected it because that is the body of that's the body of your website. That's the body of your website. This is the body. Anything that comes here is the body of your website. Do you get? Do you understand? Let me use the word. Do you understand?
But like I'm saying for the HTML, when we did it on the HTML using I guess internal also, it did not affect the whole it did not affect the whole page. It only affected where
Where the
the
element is.
oh, yes.
It only affected where the element is. Yes, that's why I said that it's just affecting the it's just affecting the content that is there. But when you are doing it with your external CSS, it's well, I don't. Well, it's more like a bug actually. Yeah, let me say it's more like a bug in CSS. If you are using, there are some stuff. There are some things you can't do with your styling internally that you can do with your styling externally. Let me put it that way. That if you are doing some styling internally, it should not work the same way it's going to work externally. Do you understand that? So it's just is those are some of the advantage external styling has over internal and inline styling. Internal and inline styling. Do you understand? Who asked that? I think is Hilary, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, I understand, Hilary, sir.
All right. So now that we have done our global styling and global reset, so our global reset. So now on our body elements, this is where you declare something like your font family. The font family we had before, we just declare our font family and you can Francisca, you can see now that there are some default font family that is available on your browser even without you typing it. But you can see that Mozarat is not available.
Yes, sir, I can see it.
So that is it. So if I want to use Mozarat now, I have to import Mozarat at the top level. So yeah, Gabriel, you have a question, Mozarat?
Yes. Concerning the font family, can we say the way you put it there is a standard on top?
Yeah, it's the standard. It's the standard across
Okay,
board.
okay,
Because if
okay.
your code is going to be interpreted, it is interpreted from top to bottom. Your code is interpreted from top to bottom. And if you can't declare something before using it, you can't declare something after you have used it. So now, something like this, I want to make use of this font family.
Okay, if you, that means if you put it at the bottom, it won't be effective. That means I have to start from head to the toe.
Yes, that is how your code is being interpreted. So if
Okay,
I do something like this and I'm
okay.
declaring it up here, it's not going to work. So Raim, you have a question?
Yeah, now
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah,
Thanks
good
for
morning.
the insight, lecture. I have a few questions. Maybe I can start. On the global research, I've seen in some instances they use hashtag. So I don't know yeah, instead of that asterisk. I don't know how genuine is that. Then also on the I don't know, maybe you've talking anything about the selector site for the CSS. Now, then another question is, can we have just the way on the inline? Can we be able to have multiple style on a single line in an external? For example, this global research, maybe on a single line, I can have the margin, padding, and everything together on a single line. Then the last one is now if I declared on the global research, then maybe like this body now, and I have another CSS I declare. Can the body overwrite the global? So I want to know the priority level for the CSS as well.
Okay, yeah, so for your first question, you mentioned that I won't pick it in the order of how you said it, but one of the questions you asked is writing your code like this, writing it on a straight line like this. You can actually do it, but it's not going to be readable. It's not going to be readable the way it is. So that is one reason. If you can see, once I save, it's like this, but this is not, it's not readable. That is why it's advisable for you to always line break. I don't know why my printer is not working. My printer is supposed to automatically format it. My printer is automatically supposed to format it to put a line break in everything. So it's advisable for you to break it down like this so that anybody that is coming to your code will be able to read it. Okay, you have each one of them on a different line. It's nothing. It's just for readability's sake. So what is the second question? What was one of your questions? Can you remind me, Ryan?
I said global research. Some people use Ash.
Okay, for global research, some people use Ash. It's not that they use Ash. It's that they are declaring Ash is, if they use Ash, I've never come across Ash before. All my years of writing code, I've never used Ash before. I've never seen it in any code. Probably a new invention.
I saw it in one. I can screen maybe later on this.
Yeah, I've not, for every time I've been writing code, for every code base I've always seen, I've never seen people using Ash. So yeah, you talked about, can you declare a style at your top level here and you change it again?
No, what exactly, like on the top level now. Let's say I put my padding, my margin 0. Then in the body, I now declare another margin.
Yeah, it's
or
going
maybe
to. Yeah, I
override.
understand. It's going to override, as we have mentioned before. It's this thing. Your code is read from top to bottom. This global reset is just changing. It's changing some of the things that is on your browser. It's changing what you have on your browser entirely. Nothing more. Let me just use that word. It's just like now on every browser there's a default margin and padding on every browser. So by you doing margin 0, padding 0, you are telling your browser that all the default margin and padding you have there, clear it away, and this is what I want to be there. Do you understand? And let me explain. I've not explained. Margin is the space around an element. Now, okay, let me use a house for example. The house we all live in. You know, our house are all fenced around. Every space outside the fence is called a margin, and every space inside the fence, you know that you have walkway inside the house. Every house is not built directly on the fence. There are going to be walkway on the right side, on the left hand, or in the front of the house. That is called padding. The space outside an element is called margin, and the space inside an element is called padding. Do you understand what the explanation I just gave? I just gave rather.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, and you also mentioned something about
Please,
selectors.
Before you close that, what I'm saying is that now, let's, for example, fonts color on the global reset is red. I declare red. On the body, I also declare font color blue. Will blue overwrite red?
Well, it's not a good practice actually. Let me first start. It's not a good practice for you to declare your font colors and the likes on your global heading. I've not done it before. I don't declare, while I've been writing code, I don't declare anything font color, background color on my global reset. I just declare it inside my body. For my global reset, all what I just do is I just do these 3 things. These are the 3 most important things for your global reset. There's something called Mayor reset. Let's check it out. There's something called Mayor reset. You want to do Mayor reset. Can I remember a name? Mayor reset. Reset, yeah, Mayor reset. I think is this. Mayor web reset. Once you have this Mayor web reset, you just copy all this. You can even see they still have, you just copy all this and you return it back. You can see what we have here is margin 0, padding 0, border 0, everything. That's what Mayor reset does. With this Mayor reset, you can just copy all this like this. If you copy everything and embed it into your code, it's still going to do the global reset for you. So that is but the most important ones, you don't need to start declaring H1. With this now, they are declaring the HTML, they are declaring the body, they are declaring the span, they are declaring everything you're going to be using inside your code. They are declaring it one after the other. But the moment you use an asterisk, it covers everything. You don't need to start declaring everything one after the other. So it is just a standard practice that you just declare the three most important things in your global reset, which is margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing. Which is that after that, every other thing you are writing into your global reset is incorrect. Let me put it like that, is incorrect. So every other thing, like your font family, your background color, your default background color that you want should just be declared in your body. You get that, Rahim?
Yeah, I get that.
So you were talking about selectors,
the selector.
selectors, the class selector, and the ID selector. We
Yeah,
talked
the tag
about that
ID.
in the internal styling, but we have not talked about that. We have not talked about that in CSS, in the external styling. So now, at this point, we have an H1 element here, which is a tag. You can see that we have our body element here. Our body element is a tag on its own in HTML, which we have. Our H1 is a tag on its own, which we have. Then we have something called the class type. Let's use a div for that. Div. Let's declare a class name, class. Let's call it section. Let's give it H3, H2, section 1. No, not Z. Section 1. Let's now have another div. And we have an ID here. We have an ID, we give it section 2. And we come here, let's give it section 2. Section 2. So if you want to do this, if you want to get all these selectors, we are going to style our H1. We come to our H1 here. H1, which is a tag selector. H1, every tag you use in your HTML is called a tag. We have a tag selector. H1, we give it a color of golden, of, let's give it aquamarine. For our class, for you to be able to target a class in your CSS from your HTML, you make use of a dot, that is full stop, and the class name, which is what is the class name we gave it here? Section dot section. Let's give it a background color of purple. And for the ID, how you select an ID is hash section 2, and you give it another background color of let me see, this. So let's check it out. You can see we have different background color. And let's now give it on our body. Let's now give our body element a different background color. Let's give our body element here and sans serif. Let's give our body element let's give the background color of let me see, dark golden rod. Yeah, let's give it this, and you can see we have styled each element differently from what we have. So that is how each one is selected. You have a class selector, a tag selector, an ID selector, and you'll be using it all the time. This is the standard way of selecting an item. And there's going to be a problem here. The reason why we always use a class element is because now, the way we have an H1 element up here now, please, if you are confused or you have a question, you can always raise up your hand. Let's come here now. We have multiple, let's say for example now, we have multiple H1. We have another H1 here. Sorry. We have another H1 here, and we give it Francisca. And we have another H1 here. We give it H1. We give it John. What is going to happen here is that everywhere this H1 is called, the font color we gave it, the color we gave it, this actual marine, is always going to affect it everywhere it's being called. You can see now, which is not a good practice. Sometimes you might want your element to have your H1, the H1 you have up here, to have a different color from the second one. That is why a class and an ID are used specifically to target just a specific element. So now, if we give this one a class name, if we give this one here a class name of Francis, a class name of Frank, let's give it female, and we give this one a class name of male, a class of male, is not going to have, okay, because it's still targeting that H1, because the H1 is still targeted because an H1 tag. But if we now give it a different color via this class name, we now give it female. Let's do a dot female. A dot female. We give it pink. I don't know. It might be my bad, but I feel pink is the most appropriate color for female. Some other females I have different colors, but let's do it dot male, and for my male I'll give it color blue. Let's give it blue. So if we check it now, you will see that what the class name we gave it has overwritten the general style we give to the H1. Now the H1 style that we have here is we have a text color for aquamarine blue for H1, but the way we gave Francisca and John a class name, and we style those class names differently. The class name has overwritten the H1 color, that the color we give to our H1 from the beginning. Do you understand what I just? Are you kind of confused with my explanation? No. iPhone. Wait, iPhone. Can you unmute and speak? Let's have a conversation. I think I have to address this now. iPhone, can you unmute and speak? iPhone.
Yes, sorry. It was said, is it appropriate to have more than one H1 element on a page?
Yes, definitely. You can have you can have you can't use only one H1. You can have 100 H1 on your page. It doesn't matter. It's your website. So there's no law that says you can only have 5 H1 tag on your website. iPhone. Who is bearing iPhone? iPhone has dropped off. You know you committed an offense in this class, and I'll purposely kick you out of this call. You know we made it crystal clear that if you are joining this meeting, you should join with your actual name, not iPhone, not a different name, a name that we know. Let this be your last warning, please. Adelani, why are you unmuting your mic? Salako, do you have a question? Okay, iPhone has dropped off or he has changed his name. Please let this be the last time I will see iPhone in this class or any name that we don't know that is on Discord, please. With what I explained about the class and everything, and also you should know that there is order of hierarchy between the class, the ID, and the tag elements. In the next class, I would make mention of the different kind of hierarchies that we have. I'll make mention of the different kind of hierarchies that we have. So please, we are going to draw the curtain here. We didn't start our project. We didn't start the website we'll be building because there were so many back and forth with allowing people understand what we are going into with the CSS. So let's Chinelo, unmute and speak.
All right. So please, can you tell me the difference between the ID and class and its main function?
Okay. There's no the ID and class does the same thing, but they are just different selector. Let's just say they are different selector name. Like I made mention before, I think it's in the first class. You have a container which you mark. Okay, this container, the name I used to mark it is goat, for example, and with that, you know that anywhere you are calling it, it knows that this ID, you are using an ID, okay, ID, name, goat, class. You can use the same name for an ID and a class. They are not going to affect each other because they have different identifiers. The identifier itself is the major difference between both of them is for an ID, you are going to use an hash symbol, and for a class, you are going to use a full stop. Yeah, ID is used for unique elements. Yeah, that you sometimes you will use class over and over again, but ID when something is very very unique, that is when you use it. But you can still be using ID. That's the definition they give outside. But for we developers, we can be using ID differently. So I can use ID all through my page. Victoria, I can actually use ID all through my page, and it does not relinquish the fact that I can always use class all through my page. I can decide not to use an ID all through my page. I can decide to use a class all through my page. So they are just an identifier to identify an element. That is why they are being used. So is now when you go into, it's now some conventions that okay, it is just a good practice that when you want to when you want to identify a unique element, that's when you use an ID. And when you want to use a group of elements, that's why you identify a class. So that's just it. So I think Raheem, you have a question. So we are already running behind time already.
Okay, and thank you. It's not actually a question, but it's just kind of a support if we can get. Okay, thank you. It's not actually a question, but it's just a kind of a support. Um, it seems we have a lot of different properties and values and their usage in CSS. I don't know if there is a site kind of to support us on the meanings and the usage of all those properties.
Yeah,
So that we know.
you can always check
So I
out
don't know.
W3 schools or MDN docs. Just go to MDN docs for CSS. MDN docs and
Okay.
types. Let me open it. Here. MDN web doc CSS. So once you click on it, you go to the CSS and you see the different kind of elements there. So properties, the selector, the combinations, and every other thing. So we are as along the line, we can't be picking everything one after the other. but as you begin to use them, you would see the differences of them. So you can always go and read up on MDN for more understanding about it. Yeah, Latif.
Okay, thank you. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Latif Boluwatife, you can unmute and speak.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sir, I want to ask, receiving any project or assignment anytime soon, or when is the LMS?
Yeah, for the LMS is up, but before you can get assignments on the LMS, you have to be onboarded. The IKEys and the organizers are looking at the perfect time, so it does not clash with our classes to do the LMS onboarding, because some tracks still have classes till I think 7 p.m. and it spans into 8:39. So they are looking for the perfect time, which is not going to clash with anyone. So everybody can just have that call once and for all, and everybody is onboarded on LMS. So that is why they are looking for the perfect time. So it's not that okay, I'm having a class now and they are onboarding other people on LMS and you guys are missing out. So you have to go and watch the video. So I know by Monday or before the end of today, a time is going to be dropped when the LMS onboarding is going to happen. So Latif, just keep calm. You definitely get tax, and by the time you have tax, you would see what you will put to practice what you have been learning. Yeah, Hilary, go ahead.
For the LMS, I just saw a notification. I guess more or less said to start on Monday, to commence on Monday.
Yeah,
Then,
so
so you said you're going to share your code, and I don't know if you can
yes.
share your teaching slides and the code so we can have it. So we
Okay,
can,
this is what I will
yeah,
do. The best way we always share code among developers is using GitHub. But now that you guys are not yet familiar with GitHub, what I'm going to do is I would upload my code to a Google Drive and send the link.
okay, sir.
Yeah, so I didn't
And
forget. I was supposed to share it, but okay, now they have said it. LMS onboarding is on Monday, so just get ready. But from Monday, you guys will start having tasks. So don't worry. I will upload my code to GitHub to my Google Drive and drop the link so that you guys can make use of it. So does anyone still? Yeah, definitely. Adilani, we are definitely going to do a GitHub class. We are going to have a code for GitHub, Git and GitHub. Yeah, if there's no question, I think Hilary, go ahead.
sir, please, alongside with your slides, as your teaching slide, I don't know if you
All
can
right, my
share.
chicken slider on Google Drive, so that's very easy. I'll just upload it and all. Yeah, so thank you very much for attending to this class. And let's put in mind we have LMS onboarding on Monday 10 a.m. Let's all attend and let's not miss out, because that is where tags are going to be dropped. And can you go back to my VS Code? That is where tags are going to be dropped, and everyone from that moment on, you're already going to that's what you're going to be making use of over time. So let's have a lovely weekend, and please, I always drop this quote: everything can be learned in the class. You have to go back and just revise it again. A little revision you do now is going to be something that's going to stick with you as you go forth. So thank you very much, and do have a lovely weekend ahead.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you.